Each candidate will have a chance to give a 2-minute opening statement, and it begins with Sefatia, Romeo. Theken.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you. For those who don't know me, my name is Sefatia, Romeo, Theken. For some of you don't know me, you're soon. You assume because I've been in city council for 13 years, it's one way or no way. You assume that I have no education, which I do. You assume that I have no expertise in the art culture. Grew up in the West End. I am here, oh, I have to speak louder, no one's ever told me to do that either. That you all got correct. But this is who I am. I'm a person with compassion. I'm a person, yes, 13 years on the city council, and many, many years in the community, with hands-on, in your community, in your wards, volunteering, not because I was a city councilor. I volunteered because I cared. I volunteered because Gloucester needed someone. I volunteered when the fishing industry was at its worst, up its high, lower. I volunteered when no one ever knew what Sergeant Street Home was, and that's where I grew up. I volunteered when UU Church needed to be restored. I volunteered with my family. And then I started to get involved because I wanted people to have a voice, and I got more involved. Why do I think that I am the best candidate? Because you asked me to run. You asked me to become someone that's going to move Gloucester forward. You asked me to get more involved. And how can you get more involved than running for being mayor? I'd like to be your mayor. I like to keep the community involved, but most of all, I need to motivate my employees again. I need to get them to come out, because guess who runs this city? It's not a mayor, it's a team. And I have a wonderful team. When you put people in the right places, they do the jobs. Any of your organizations do, don't they? Let's work together for a change. Thank you.
I would like to take this moment to thank each and every one of you who has the wisdom and the courage to vote for me on September 29th and November 3rd. We are all merely stewards of Gloucester's unique and natural beauty. What little we choose to save, we are allowed to pass down to the next generation. An excellent example of what we should save is the Fuller School, which should be preserved and protected for countless generations to enjoy. As your new next mayor, I support the construction of a public community pool to be built on the 10.6 acres of the Fuller School complex. Also to be built, we will be open 24-hour handicap accessible public restrooms with his and her bidets, and also a seasonal outdoor skating rink. Everyone notices that Good Harbor Beach will have to be regraded with tons of clean white sand, as at high tide the water reaches the dunes. As your new next mayor, I shall personally take up the task of promoting City Lot I-4C2 to all potential lessees. And I hope that someday somebody wants to build a Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Dairy Queen. I asked my best friend Joseph Noyer, a master stonemason, how he would repair the Lanes Cove breakwater. He said, well, there's only one right way to do it, and that's to drill it and pin it. And so that will be the course of action we will follow. As your new next mayor, I shall require that the Lanes Cove breakwater be drilled and pinned with oversized titanium dowels, and also require that a hydraulic cement epoxy be used sparingly to reinforce that entire Lanes Cove breakwater. We all share the same love for Gloucester's unique and tranquil beauty and its wide assortment of colorful characters, all beacons of hope, all mere mortals example of how to live an honest life devoted to truth, justice, and the American way.
Thank you all for coming. This is part of democracy, as you're being here tonight. My name is Paul McGeary. I would like to be your next mayor. I'm going to tell you just a brief bit about myself. I was born in Worcester. I came up here 40 years ago to work for the Gloucester Daily Times. I worked under Peter Watson. Many of you may remember Peter. Peter was a sort of legendary editor in the kind of Our Town mold. He taught a bunch of us 20-somethings the who, what, where, when, why of journalism, but he taught us something larger. He taught us to care for the city that we covered. Many of the people I've worked with have gone on to big newspapers, to the New York Times, Boston Globe, as I did, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, but we kept within us that sense of being part of a community, of understanding that we had a civic function. I went to the Globe. I worked there for 25 years. I started as a working journalist. Over the time, though, I found out, much to my surprise, because I majored in medieval European history, that I had a flair for computers. I ended up in the technology department, overseeing multi-million-dollar projects for both the Globe and the New York Times Company. I oversaw teams of people that were much more technically adept than I was, but it was my job to make that team work, bring them together, get the job done on time and on budget. I decided to run for the City Council in 2009. I ran for council and was elected. I've been on the council's Budget and Finance Committee for 6 years of all my terms. This last term, my council colleagues elected me their president. What I bring to this is a vision, and the vision is really quite simple. That a child can be born here, can go to the Gloucester Public Schools and get a good education. When they complete that education, they can find a job that pays enough to live on, and a house they can afford to live in, and when the time comes to retire, they can retire here among their friends and neighbors. It's a strong vision, and one I hope to bring to you as your next mayor.
I'm Greg Verga. I was born and raised here in Gloucester, and I love the city. But I'm not looking for your vote because I was born and raised here and love the city. I'd rather earn your vote because you believe, like I do, that I have what it takes to move the city ahead. So I'd like to tell you what sets me apart from the other people running for mayor. First is, it's trust, experience, listening, and leadership. Trust, when I say something, you know I'm going to follow through with it. Experience, I'm the only candidate who's been elected in competitive races, the school committee, ward councilor, and councilor at large. Listening, the public record is very clear. My time in the committee, in the city council, constantly pushing for more public engagement and interaction, be it through questions put forward on the ballot, like fluoride, a nice little alliteration there, and pushing for public hearings when they weren't necessarily required. So, as far as leadership, you're lucky because 3 of us have served on the committee, the council, for 5 years over the same 5-year period. So it's very easy to look at and compare apples to apples. We have a thing called council orders. They can be as simple as a new yield sign, like I did in the Magnolia 5 Corners, or something big like putting something on the ballot or creating a whole new ordinance, like the dog ordinance. But over that 5-year period, I've put forward more council orders than the other 2 combined. So that's what sets me apart. Trust, experience, listening, and leadership. And the beautiful thing about this period right now, this election period, prior to my calling for debates, there was 0 scheduled before the September 29th primary. We've now had 4. We've got 1 tonight, 1 Wednesday, and 1 on Thursday. So I urge you all to tune in to KPN TV, watch the debates. You can stream them at your leisure. If you hear something that sounds a little fishy or far-fetched, rewind, listen to it again. And I'm sure that after you listen to it, you'll decide that I am the best person for this job. Thank you.